I'm excited to talk to you today about Birmingham, Alabama. We get investors from around the world who reach out to us and say, what is it like to own Birmingham real estate? And so we're going to look at that. We're going to actually go out and look at areas of town, and then we're going to look at properties in these areas, and I'm going to show you what it's like to buy A-class, B-class, C-class, and even D-class properties, which is what a lot of investors are looking for right now. And then on top of that, we'll also fill you in on why Birmingham makes sense to invest for investors. Our economy is thriving. We have a revitalization going on downtown right now. And those are just a couple of things that make Birmingham a great destination for real estate investors around the world. All right, before we go into the city and take the tour, what I want to do is give you a little background about Evernest and how we got here. Back in 2004, Matthew Whitaker and myself, we were buying and selling properties here in Birmingham. We were buying in all classes, A class all the way down to D class. We were wholesaling them out to investors. And then eventually we started holding some of our own rentals. By the time 2008, by the time the Great Recession hit in 2008, Matthew had around 30 rental houses with some partners. I also had around 30 rental houses with partners. And at that point, all of our investors, all of our clients disappeared. And so Matthew started Evernest. And this is the property management company that you know of today. And he started with just those 30 properties. Sometime later in the year, I gave him my 30 properties. And then in 2014, I joined the Evernest team to help us grow here in Birmingham and then grow across the country. As of today, as we're sitting here today, we manage 1,500 properties here in Birmingham. And then nationwide, we manage around 14,000. So I want to just tell you before we get into the city that we have experience, especially in Birmingham. We know these neighborhoods like the back of our hand. We are in them all the time. We've leased thousands upon thousands upon thousands of houses here in Birmingham. So when we take you into the city, we are speaking from experience. And one of the things that Matthew and I are very, very passionate about is educating real estate investors, because we get a lot of people that reach out to us. We want to help investors avoid the mistakes that we've made. As a matter of fact, I just got an email the other day where someone was asking me about a property they were about to buy, and I gave them my opinion of it, gave them the reasons why they shouldn't buy that property, and thankfully they didn't. So if we can ever help you, just want you to know you can always reach out to us, sales@evernest.co. We'd be happy to talk to you about your investment goals and how we may be able to help. But that's it for now. So let's go ahead and start walking through the city of Birmingham. So we're going to kick this Birmingham tour of A through D class properties in an A class area. This is an area called Brook Highland, and you can see these houses were built around in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, early 2000s. They're very spacious. This house behind me is going to rent for around $3,000 to $3,500 a month. And it's just a fantastic area. As we walk through this house, you're going to notice in these A-class properties how the countertops are beautiful, the kitchens are beautiful, the bathrooms are really nice. There's nice hardwood floors throughout the entire property. This is just a fantastic area and a fantastic house. This is a perfect example of if you're buying in Birmingham and you want to own A-class property, where you should be buying. This property actually, the owner lives out of state, and so we manage it for them. Some other areas that you might consider would be Mountain Brook, Vestavia, Homewood, parts of Hoover. This again right here is near an area called Evernest and Oak Mountain. And so all of these are great areas to own rental property if you're interested in A-class property. right, we made it to our B-class property. I am in a rural part of Trussville. It's a city on the western side of town. Now, Birmingham has a lot of great B-class areas, and these are fantastic places. You have a high degree of home ownership and not a lot of rentals. This one we're at right now is a rental. House was built in 1940. Some other areas of Birmingham that are B-class, I would say, are Pelham, Helena, on the eastern side, Leeds, Moody. There are some great areas of Birmingham. Again, they're going to be a little bit more expensive. This property behind me was purchased in 2021 for right around $200,000 and is going to rent around $1,700 per month. Because it's an older home, you're going to have repairs and maintenance probably more than a newer house built in 2000 or newer. So just be prepared for that if you're buying an older house. Doesn't matter if it's Class A, Class B, C, or D. These types of houses have repairs and maintenance, but this is a great area. It's very quiet. Again, a lot of home ownership in these areas, in the B-class areas, and not a lot of rentals, which means the rentals that come on the market are in high demand. Let's go ahead and take a look inside this one. One of the first things that I noticed coming into this house is just how well built it is. This is a great looking house. This would fit a larger family because you have several dens, living rooms. I believe this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and it's just really well built. As typical with an older home, the kitchens are like set apart, separate. It doesn't have a very big open area here in the kitchen, and they're a little bit smaller. So you don't have a ton of cabinet space, not a ton of countertop space, but still, for a rental house, this is really, really nice. One of the things that you do need to be cautious about when you're buying in Birmingham, what I would say is, so we're out here in a rural area, which is great, but also look at the trees around the house. Now, this house has got some really big trees around it. You just need to be aware of that. You may need to have branches trimmed off. There's always going to be danger of harming your roof. If we have storms in the area, then trees could fall over. So that's just something to consider. I remember Matthew Whitaker bought a house, and one of the first things he had to do was cut down all the trees because they were really close to falling over and on his house, and he didn't want that to happen. So pay attention to what's around you when you buy these houses out here. All right, so we've looked at an A-class property, a B-class property, and now we're out here in the western part of town called Hueytown, and we are looking at a C-class property. Now, the thing about C-class property is most investors are looking for C-class properties because they tend to be really solid houses and they're not too old. They're not in super high crime areas. This area right here, it looks great. It's you can tell that there's pride of ownership. And in the area that I'm in, Hueytown, I happen to know that there's still a lot of home ownership. So it's not a complete rental area, and investors like that. So C-class is usually going to give you a pretty good return on your investment and a solid investment. It's going to be a great house, and more than likely you're going to have a lot of people who are interested in these houses. So what I want to do is I want to walk you through this property. This is one that I found that we're leasing out, and I want to tell you why this is a great investment, why this C-class property makes a lot of sense. So let's go on in and take a look at it. So this house was built in the early 50s, and it's in great shape. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. So one of the things I believe, especially here in Birmingham, about C-class properties is they're going to be a little bit newer. They're not going to be in the older parts of town where houses were built in the 1900 to 1930. Once you get into the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, you're going to find more 3-bedroom, 2-baths. Now, this originally might have been a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, but they've added a bath. And the only drawback to this property that I can see is that it's on a somewhat busy road. Now, if you're an investor, you know that busy roads are not exactly what you want, because if people have young kids, they don't necessarily want to be near a busy road. But other than that, this house is in great shape. Starting off with the floor. The flooring on the property is fantastic. As we move into the kitchen area, you've got these are not granite countertops, but they're probably, I don't know, quartz countertops or whatever. They're super nice countertops. Everything's clean. The paint in this place is really, really nice. And the only weird thing about this property is that you have a stove in the middle of the island. I don't really know what somebody was thinking here. I probably would have put the stove somewhere else, maybe over here. Probably wouldn't even have an island. Just get rid of the island, have more room maybe for a table, some chairs. But the kitchen is still very, very nice. So let's go check out some of the bedrooms. All right, so this is one of the bedrooms and it looks great. Again, clean walls, clean ceiling, simple, very, very simple fixture. You have a closet there. It's not very big, but that's not really a big deal for this type of properties. These 1950s and 60s houses weren't really huge. And so then right off here, you have the bathroom, which looks to be in great shape. Nice tub, toilet, vanity area. So everything again is in really good shape here. So this is the part I believe that they added onto the house after the original build. And this is essentially a master bedroom. You can tell the bedroom's bigger. It also has a bathroom right off of it. And when you walk in here, nice vanity, toilet, bathtub, and then you have a really big closet here, which you typically don't see. So this was added, it's built up a little bit from the original foundation of the house. But it looks like this is a great property. This is a great C-class area, and the house is a very, very solid house. Now, we're asking $1,240 for this property right now. And for the area, for Hueytown, I would say it's a little bit aggressive, but still definitely doable for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in this area. And finally, we are here in a D-class area. I'm actually standing in an area of town called Tarrant. There are other areas that are considered D-class in Birmingham. I'm thinking parts of Inslee, Fairfield, the West End, parts of West End, even some areas on the eastern part of Birmingham. But you just have to be very, very careful if you're an out-of-state investor looking to buy D-class property, because really people get attracted to these houses because there's potential for great real estate returns, right? There's potential for great cash flow, but you're also taking greater risk in these areas. So greater risk when it comes to vandalism, vacancy, because the demand for these houses is not as great as in some other places. But here we are, we're gonna walk through this house. I'm gonna show you a little bit about this house. And again, D-class, but we do have a lot of investors from around the country that buy these houses right here in Birmingham. We are in the house right now. This house was built in 1956. So that's not too old. There are places of Birmingham, specifically D-class areas, that have houses built in 1900, right? 1905, 1908. I would really steer clear of those. The older they are, the more trouble they're gonna be for you to maintain. This house has a great coat of paint. The flooring has been redone, but it's just an older house, right? So 56 is not all that old, but it's a small house. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, less than 1,000 square feet. And so some of the things that you need to be aware of if you're buying houses in Birmingham, do you want a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house? I would probably steer you more towards a 3-1. What I found is that 2-bedroom, 1-bath houses are more transient. Maybe they're for single people, maybe just newly married couple, but once people start having kids, they quickly outgrow a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, and they want to graduate up to a 3-1, 3-2. So, but as you can see, this house is not in bad shape. It's just what you have to decide when you're buying in a D-class area is what is the rental demand. It's typically going to take you a little bit longer to rent it. And I know a lot of investors are looking for Section 8 properties. So yes, this would probably pass that Section 8 inspection, but you just have to be very, very clear about what you're buying, what the risks are, how long the vacancy is going to be, and then how much repairs and maintenance you're going to need to commit to keeping a house like this in an area like this. So I don't know if you can see this on camera, but this house, these older houses in these older parts of Birmingham settle a good bit. So what you have are, a lot of times you'll have cracks in the walls from foundation issues. Right now you can see this house is tilted a little bit. You kind of, if I put a ball on the ground right now, it would literally roll to one side of the house just because it's not level, but you can't really do anything about it. We talked about this in another C-class house, but yeah, that's just kind of what you get when you buy these houses. There's not a lot to see in this house, but I am standing here in the kitchen, and the thing that you notice in smaller houses like this is there's just not a lot of room for washer dryer hookup, so you have that in the kitchen. You also are, you're gonna have to put a stove, or the resident's gonna have to put a stove, and there's not a lot of counter space. There's pretty much adequate shelving space, but what you have to realize when you're buying in these areas is what is rental grade and what is maybe above rental grade when you're rehabbing a house. We don't recommend that you go all out and put the nicest stuff in these houses because frankly, the residents don't necessarily expect it. And so rental grade usually works real well, can be replaced easily, can be repaired easily. So that's it. That's it for this tour of Birmingham, Alabama. We hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I've given you a little bit of the taste of what it's like to buy properties in Birmingham, Alabama, whether you're looking at A-class all the way down to D-class, what you can expect. And as always, if we can ever help you find these properties, buy them for you, manage them for you, we would love to do it. We know every street of every area all over Birmingham, and we'd love to be your property manager. So just reach out to us. You can email us at sales@evernest.co, and one of our representatives, one of our local Birmingham reps will be back in touch with you just to find out how we can help you. If you like this content, go ahead and like the video below, subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back with more investor-friendly content just like this.